Hello and welcome to the first Hohlen Homestead video of 2023. Now it's going to be the first one shot in 2023, but it may not be the first one that I actually put out in 2023. Today is Nix's birthday, which is exciting, and the day before our due date. So we have quite a bit of updates on the Hohlen Homestead that you can check out our Facebook and YouTube pages for. But today is January 5th. It's lightly snowing outside. It's about, I think it was like 35 or 40 degrees out. So today is a good day to work in the hoop house. And we are going to be starting some of our native seeds. Now we've got all of these native seeds from Prairie Moon Nursery, and they are a great resource to find seeds from, as well as get information on if they're native to your region, right down to your county using the BONAP maps, as well as what kind of areas that the plants want to grow in as far as soil conditions and lighting. They also have lots of information on stratifying your seeds or how to start them, which is what we're going to be doing today. So all of these seeds that I have are a code C from Prairie Moon Nursery, which means that they require cold stratification. And cold stratification can be done several different ways. My preferred method that I've done so far for cold stratification is to start out here in January. I think last year I started in February. It depends on the seeds, but not necessarily, because you can go longer than the seed packet asks for. Is to go out here and set out your soil and plant your seeds in the soil. Then you want to water them from the bottom, so bottom water them. So I've got all these in trays, and you're going to want to do that at least however many days before your packets require. So like if we look at a packet here that we've got cup plant right here, and it's a C60, which means it requires at least 60 days of cold stratification. There are C90s, there are C10s, C30s, different things that you can get from Prairie Moon. And they have a guide that comes with all of your orders that helps walk you through the stratification process. So cold stratification is fairly straightforward. Like I was saying, I put out seeds in these pots, and we plant the seeds in them to the recommendations on the seed packet. They usually say, no deeper than the width of the seed. So basically you put them right on top to a quarter or an eighth of an inch the way into the soil, lightly press them in, and then you can cover them over with some sand or some more potting soil. There are other ways to cold stratify seeds. One artificial way is to take like a damp paper towel, put the seeds in it, put it in your refrigerator for as many days as they ask for. If you've got as many seeds as we do, we don't have a big enough refrigerator yet for that. But that is an option if you're just doing a few. A lot of people also start out in milk jugs, and the milk jugs, I think they like cut the top off, fill the bottom with dirt and a potting mix, plant their seeds in it, and then you can put the top back on, and they act like a mini greenhouse. I have a big hoop house here, so that's what we're going to be using. And another thing you can do is winter or fall sow. So winter or fall sowing is where you take your seed mix or your seeds and you spread them into your planting, especially like a meadow or a woodland planting, and you give them those whole few months to stratify, because that's pretty much what would happen in nature, that they'd be spread in the fall, summer, or whenever an animal ate the berry that they could have been in, whatever it is. And then they stratify all winter, and then they usually will germinate in the spring. There are some that require multiple periods of cold and then warm and then cold and then warm. And we can replicate some of that in the greenhouse, but we haven't always had success doing that. I spread seeds previously, and they didn't do well. But you can winter sow. I have tried winter sowing. We had some success in our meadow that we're working on, especially with the great blue lobelia that I got seeds for, because those are an easy germination plant, and they do really well. Some of the common milkweed that I spread, that I collected, as well as some of the rudbeckia that I had spread. But we didn't have a large group of seeds germinate, and so for me, plugs or started plants are the way to go. And that might not be the same case for everybody, depending on your situation. We also tried to winter sow in the woodland and had next to no germination. Now, some of those are ephemerals that do require multiple periods of cold and then warm. So we may see them this spring, you never know, because we did those last year. But like I said, we started all of these pots with dirt, and I've got them prepped. We've prepped our tags to label them, and we've got our seeds. So they're all pretty easy to start. You're just going, we've made a potting mix using some used up potting soil, some of our own compost, some dirt from our home, which helps to inoculate the soil with local bacteria and fungi, and then some coconut coir. So we have a pretty loose mix here. There's also some sand and some perlite in it. So we're doing a light seed starting mix so they can get a good fresh start going. By far, one of my favorite thing to start seeds in are these plug trays. They are a tall tray that works really well for deep-rooted plants, which a lot of prairie plants are. Not all your native plants are prairie plants, though, so that's why we have a variety. And things will do perfectly well started in other plants, as long as you don't keep them in there too long and hinder their growth. You want to make sure you transplant them out at the right time, which is usually spring or fall. So I only got 2 of these plug trays right now. That's why we have an assortment of other things to grow in. My other plug tray is sitting outside. That's another way you can cold stratify, is you can start the things in pots like I am here, and then water them once and stick them outside so they're exposed to the natural elements. It will wear your containers more quickly because they'll be exposed to more of those weathering elements, and so mine are going to stay a little bit more protected inside the hoop house here. But I will have to make sure that I water them when they seem to be drying out. You want to make sure you're doing a moist stratification, so you want to make sure that they don't dry out. So planting them is all going to be pretty simple and pretty straightforward. So like I said, let's see what we have here. I'm using information from Prairie Moon that is on the seed packets that I've gotten from Prairie Moon in their handout they send with the seeds, as well as information from Indigenous Landscapes. Both are incredible resources for you to find more information on native plants. And if you are wondering about which plants are native to your area, definitely go on Prairie Moon, where you can shop, and then you can select your state, and they'll have the BONAP map on the information, which is a green, usually a green colored map. Dark green means it's native to your state. Light green means it's native to your county. That's a good thing to do. You can search for different echinaceas or silphiums, like this prairie dock, liatris, goldenrods, milkweeds, tons of things, and find out what's native to your area. And you can place an order from them, or check out if you have any local native seed collectors. You want to make sure you're getting your seeds ethically sourced, which means that you don't go and take them from the wild, because then you can be depriving animals that need that for food, or a plant can be endangered in a locale, or specific genetics that we don't want to be removing without permission from the governing body, if that's the owner of the land or the state, depending on where it's at. So you want to make sure that you have permission if you're going to collect seeds. And you certainly can collect seeds, but you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way. So Prairie Moon has been a great way for me to get seeds. I also started some pots or plugs around my home over the last couple years since we've moved into this new property. And I collect my own seeds from my own plants. And that allows me to do two things. One is I can spread them out into the meadow or the woodland, wherever they belong. It's basically seed I already paid for. It's free seed, and it's going to allow those to spread more, like my Rudbeckia triloba. They're very prolific, and I don't want them anymore in the pocket prairie, any more self-seeding in the pocket prairie, so I take them and move them to the meadows, and we get them started out there. The same thing with the butterfly weed and the common milkweed that I have growing. So it's all been going really well. I've also gotten some seeds from neighbors with some New England asters, and I'll be spreading that out in the meadow. So you can find lots of sources for seeds, and seed packets from Prairie Moon aren't incredibly expensive. If you don't feel like you can start seeds in whatever your location is, they do also sell potted plants or bare roots, and those can be really great. I got a bare root Michigan lily that I planted in the L bed, and so I think that's going to be really beautiful, and hopefully some little rodents don't eat it. So let's start out with something interesting here. I feel like a little kid with like trading cards when I'm going through my seed mix or my seeds here. It's like, ooh, what do you have? You know, maybe let's trade. So here, that's not gonna work. So this is Michigan lily. This is a seed packet from Prairie Moon, and on the bottom it says that it is a code E, which in order to germinate, seeds need a warm, moist period followed by a cold, moist period. So the Hoophouse can help with some of that, but you may have more difficulty germinating these, or they may not germinate until the next year. So here is some turtle heads. They have a C120 and also code M. So seeds are best planted outdoors in the fall. Why can't I just find anything easy? Here, these Foxglove's Beard's Tongue. Let's start these. So these Penstemon digitalis, we're going to start these. They are C30s. We don't need, they would do well in a bigger pot, but I don't necessarily need a plug for them. So we're going to start them in one of, I don't know, let's just pick something. Let's start them in some of these bigger pots. So we've got a few tags for them around here. Foxglove, beard tongue, yep. So we've got 3 tags here. So we'll do 3 rows of them. Make sure we label. And then you can always start more plants in each pot than one. You can certainly thin them, or you can separate them and divide them out and plant them that way. So we've got lots of little seeds here. And we don't need to plant them no deeper than the width of the seed. And since they're so tiny, we will just sprinkle them on the top of each pot. And we'll use all of them. Now I think I have some foxglove beard tongues seeds inside as well that I collected. I don't think they were hairy beard tongue. There we go. Now I'll just make sure that they have good contact. And we'll cover with a little bit of sand. There we go. So now that those are all ready to go, we'll bottom water and let them stay in the greenhouse here, the hoop house, for several months while they are stratifying. And you may be pleasantly surprised to see you start to have some growth in just a couple of months. If it's getting warm enough in your container, you'll probably see some growth on some of these plants. But remember, you want to keep them protected. If they do get a little frosted in here, doesn't mean that they're all going to die, but it's something you want to be aware of and try and protect against. But I've got my work cut out ahead of me, as I always do, because we have 51 varieties of native plants to plant. And so we are going to have to get on top of that and get it all taken care of. So you guys have a great new year, and I will keep you updated on all of these wonderful native plants, because we try and have at least 50% native plants in all of our plantings to support pollinators and local wildlife. So time to get to work. We'll see ya.